It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome back. Welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman, and the show is brought to you by emailrevealer.com. This is part 2 of our interview with Robert Merritt, who has worked almost his entire life as a confidential informant for the various government agencies. But also with this part, we're going to be getting into his involvement with the Watergate burglary, a historic event. In part 1 of our show, we got into his life, to how it began, working as a confidential informant, infiltrating radical anti-war movement, being directed to distribute LSD unknowingly to protesters. Some of them expired due to the use of those undercover drugs that he was passing out. Also, his involvement in an assassination that he carried out for the U.S. government. And also, too, he described how he, through his involvement in undercover activities, that he met a transvestite who was involved as a switchboard operator who overheard the planning of the Watergate burglary. And that's pretty much where we left off, isn't it, Mr. Merritt? Robert, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I'm sorry, Mr. Opperman.
That's okay. So now tell us about Watergate.
Before I tell you about Watergate, I just want to make a statement, and that is that, first of all, I'm not scripted. I don't have any notes. I don't have my book. I don't have anything in front of me. It's just all by memory, and it's all from my mind and from my heart and by the will of God. And like I told you from the beginning, my health is extremely bad. I don't know how long I have to live, but I do believe in all my heart that God has me here to reveal and expose everything I know before He takes me. And another thing too is I'm going to say some things during this half, if I'm allowed, that the language may be very graphic, and if you have children or anyone in the room that's going to be offended, please remove them. And another thing, too, is I'm going to say things and mention certain people's names and expose them for what they truly are. And I am only liable for my own comments. Mr. Opperman is not responsible, and neither is his show or his network. With that, I'm sorry, Mr. Opperman, your question again.
Well, just continue telling us about your life and this story. About, I guess, the next stage of the story is your involvement in the Watergate burglary.
Okay, like I said, in a very hurried comment to you at the end, I explained to you how I knew 2 weeks before by the drag queen Rita Reed, who was killed that same day that she gave me the story, or that same evening, rather. There were only 3 people in the world who knew about the break-in in advance was Detective Carl Schauffer and the CIA and FBI agents, who neither one would reveal their names to me, by the way. They flashed their badges, and I can tell you that the CIA identification had holes punched in it, said retard. That's all I could see. Okay. Or what he would allow me to see, rather. I betrayed the trust of Rita Reed. I'm sorry I did that. But I thought it was more important to save the president, and because I knew that this whole thing stunk like high hell, just like my involvement with all of these things that I did, from forging documents to breaking into numerous places to having sex with over 70-some very powerful and famous people. And I mean, the story goes on and on. I was involved in so many things, even with H. Rap Brown and Stokely Carmichael, who was the head of the Black Panther Party. I was at their apartment when the two of them were having sex together. So they were secretly gay, too. I've infiltrated not only politicians, but I've infiltrated people from Hollywood, from different shows. I'm not going into that part because that's an entirely different story. And besides, that would be just dropping names, and I'm not here for that. But to get back to the Watergate, like I said, I told Carl about it 2 weeks before, and that same evening he brought in the CIA, FBI, not one time but 3 times, and quizzed me over and over the same questions in 1,000 different ways about how I knew, what Rita said, and all this, I begged them not to go to her, not to go anywhere near it, not to do any harm to her, and they promised faithfully that they would not, but apparently they killed her. Carl Schaffer was a young guy. He was about 1 year, as a matter of fact, younger than me. He was in the Army. He did Army intelligence. I don't know how he got involved with the Pentagon, because that's who he really worked for. And I guess it's because of his intelligence gathering in the Army is how he got there. But anyways, Carl was a very powerful person. You do any research on him, and you'll be amazed. Excuse me 1 second. I'm sorry, son. You'll be amazed as to his background and his credentials. He told me that with my revelation to him about the Watergate break-in, that he was going to be the most famous, the most popular cop in the entire world. Well, guess what he was, except that the word is called infamous, not famous. Carl gave me some of the most nefarious acts to do in my life, and thanks to him, thanks to these Catholic priests. And by the way, Carl died in 1995 in a rather strange illness in Johns Hopkins University Hospital. I'm convinced that the weird blood disease that he had was natural. I'm sure he was taken out of here. The same way they wanted to take me out. They set me up on criminal charges of fraud, 20-some counts of fraud with an organization that I was involved with Mayor Marion Barry when he was the mayor of D.C. And I had an organization called the Young Dillingers. Young Dillingers was like the Guardian Angels of New York, except that my organization had several thousand members, and they were all young black kids except for one white kid, and every last one of them was ex-offenders or offenders from the court. And out of 200 and some people that I went to court and allocated for to keep the judge from sending them to prison, 229, and that's how many cases I did total, not 229 people ever returned into the system again. They never broke the law again. I got them jobs, I got them places to live, and got them an education. But anyways, it was money that was coming to my organization from Boeing Airlines, from the city of Washington, D.C., from many different places that I was accused of stealing my own money, $250,000. I'm not a CPA, I'm not an accountant, I'm not a bookkeeper. I kept very sloppy books, and it was very difficult to account for the money that was used. But I can tell you one thing, I never bought myself a hot dog of that money, not one penny. But I did give the money away randomly and very generously to the kids in that organization for clothing, for shoes, for housing, for food, for a number of things. And even though it sounds like a lot of money, and I guess it was, but you know what? When you have a couple of thousand kids to help, it's nothing, absolutely nothing.
But now you were convicted of those charges.
I was indicted. I was indicted when a grand jury indicted me of 27 charges. I was asked to take. I was told that there was no way I could fight it by my lawyer because it's such a huge number, and go ahead and take a guilty plea to 3 of them, which I did, and that I would get 4 years in prison, and that would be it. I spent 18 months in Morton Penitentiary in Washington D.C., and there was a Catholic friar that came in to visit the inmates one day, and I slipped him a note and asked him to contact the mayor for me because the FBI had been coming in like every other day, pretending to be my lawyers on a legal visit and saying that for the purpose of quizzing me about my involvement with Watergate and with all the things I was involved with the anti-war demonstrators and so on and so on. And they were quizzing me extensively about the mayor himself, trying to say that I was having the kids in my organization because they were ex-offenders, supplying the mayor with cocaine or being his mules or messengers to go buy it for him. and none of that was true, by the way.
Okay.
And anyways, the friar did get the message to the mayor, and the mayor sent a man to the prison the very next day, by the name of Reverend Farrell. And I don't know exactly what happened, but strings were pulled, and at 3 o'clock in the morning, my door popped open, and the guard told me to pack up and get the hell out. And I was put into a limo and was taken to another prison. And I was there. I was told to go make up my bed and eat breakfast. And I made up my bed and was trying to walk across the grounds to the dormitory to eat breakfast. And then the warden called me in his office, and he said, "Where's your property?" I said, "Under my bed." He says, "Well, you don't have time to go get it." He says, "There's a car waiting for you outside." He says, "Go to that door and get the hell out of there. Don't ever come back." I went to the car, got in. It was the same limo. They drove me into Washington, D.C. to a halfway house. When I got to the halfway house, I was given some money by the people at the house and was told to go into town and give me something to eat, do whatever I wanted to do. And on the way into Washington, D.C., I was walking along the road. I wasn't familiar with that part of D.C. And my car pulled up along the street and fired several times at me. I jumped over into an area that led down into a ditch-like and escaped from being hit. But it was a plan to all have me killed. And then...
Let me clarify some things with you, Mr. Merritt. What period of time, what year was it that you were running this organization for the Guardian Angels type organization? What year was that?
1972 to 1975, I think. I can't remember exactly.
Okay, so then that was during the Watergate period, wasn't it?
No, wait. I'm sorry. Mom, I'm thinking about Watergate. Yeah. No, it was in the 80s. It was
right.
Early, I think maybe 1979 to like 1984, 85.
Okay, that makes sense. And then what time did you get out of the jail? What time did they let you out of jail? It must have been like 89, right?
I got out, I think it was like in 86, 87.
86, 87, okay.
Yes, and then after I was shot at, I had a private number to the mayor's, I don't know where he was at. It was his home or somewhere, but I called him and I said, "You son of a bitch." I said, "You let me out." I said, "She get me killed." I said, "Had me killed." I said, "I want you to meet me right away." I said, "I'm going to the Washington Post and I'm going to tell them everything." Okay. And I had nothing to tell the Post. But anyways, it called the bluff because, we all knew he was doing coke. But anyways, he met me at McDonald's, believe it or not, on 14th and K Street, right in downtown D.C., and he gave me an envelope with an airline ticket one way to New York and cash of about $3,000 to $4,000, and told me never come back. And I stayed as a fugitive from that time up until until 2001. As a fugitive for about 12 years.
Now, why were you a fugitive? For prison break? They were accusing you of escaping prison?
No, I was in a halfway house.
Oh, so you were a fugitive from the halfway house. Okay.
I walked away. They call it escape.
Okay. I got you.
But anyways, in the year 2001, I was going to the post office one day to take up my mail, and the guard at the post office arrested me, told me that the U.S. Marshal's office had been there that morning, and gave him a copy of a warrant in my picture. And he arrested me. They kept me in Metropolitan Correctional Center, MCC, here in New York for about 2 months, and they transferred me down to Washington, D.C., before the same judge who gave me the charge. And that was a famous Judge Reggie Walton. Judge Reggie Walton is the same judge who has prosecuted all of the president's people who, well, I can't go name them all, but they were, if you look up Judge Reggie Walton, you'll see what kind of case he did. Very famous people, all connected with the White House from different presidents. But anyways, Reggie Walton, I walked in his courtroom. I had handcuffs on to my waist chain and shackles around my feet. And I was wearing an orange jumpsuit that was emblazoned with the words D.C. Jail across the back of me in huge letters. I was secured by 6 U.S. Marshals. All 6 of them were carrying Uzis. And the courtroom was cleared and locked, and I brought before the judge. My hair was long, it was rather disheveled, and the judge asked me, because the judge and I knew each other personally before he was on the bench. And he said, well, he said, Robert, he said, how have you been? I said, well, Your Honor, he said, looking at me, I don't think too well. And he said, well, may I ask where you've been for the past 14 years? I said, yes. He said, I said, in New York City. And he said, in New York? And he said, why didn't we find you during the last 14 years? I said, well, Your Honor, it's been very easy. He said, why is that? I said, because I was working for the FBI, the police department, in the U.S. Attorney's office. I said, in New York City. He says, you were? And I said, yes. And he said, can we verify that? Sure. And I gave him name and numbers. He called, and he came back to him. He said, I want you marshals to unlock my door, let the public in. He said, all those 6 of you, get the hell out of my courtroom and take those chains and cuffs off of him. And he said, Mr. Merritt, he said, as far as you go, he said, you're being released, he says, on your own recognizance. And he sent me back. I came to court a month after that to get my final charge and disposition or sentencing of the case. And he said, you're free to go. And he not only let me go free, he dismissed the charges and sealed the record.
Oh, very good. Okay. And did you have a lawyer?
I'm sorry?
Did you have a lawyer?
Yeah, I had a lawyer.
Public defender, or you had a real lawyer?
No, I had a lawyer.
Okay, you had your own lawyer. Okay.
There were many lawyers who wanted to represent me during that time, Mr. Opperman, because of who I was. They wanted the publicity, and it made the news.
Okay.
But I'm sorry. Somehow I got off of Watergate.
No, that's okay. We go back to it. Go back to Watergate. Now tell us we had left off. Yeah.
Okay, getting back to Watergate. Carl came in and told me the morning. He came in about 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning on June the 17th or 18th, 17th. I can't think it was 1972, which was a Saturday morning. Anyways, it happened to be Carl's birthday too. The Watergate break-in was supposed to have been on Sunday, but because he wanted that as a birthday present, he got on the Watergate telephone lines, intercept them in what they do, triangulation, which means that he could intercept the line without going into their office. He could hook up a line, call somebody, and make it look like that the number was showing up as an ID on an ID card that was coming from that department. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
They do that today frequently off the computer. It's called spoofing or triangulation, I think.
Right.
But anyway, he called them and made the burglars who were tapping the line too. He pretended to be talking to somebody at the DNC, and he really wasn't. He said, listen, so-and-so in the office left this very important envelope in there on the desk. It says it's got a key to the safe deposit box and got all these important papers in there. It says, and it's got the catalog in there. And they said, we can't leave that there over the weekend. So, the people clean up, they might come there and open it, look, and say, that's going to be disastrous. Well, it was all bullshit. Excuse my language. There was no such envelope. He did that so that the burglars who were listening would move the date back one day for his birthday.
Okay.
So, when he said catalog, there was rumors of a catalog that's supposed to have had nude boys and nude girls in there for the DNC people to have sex with. There was rumors of a catalog, but nobody knew whether it existed or not because it was never found. But that was one of the things that was supposed to have been taken from DNC, but it was never turned over for evidence in anybody's case. There was such a thing. But anyways,
let me interrupt you for 1 second, because there was a D.C. madam that had in her employ Robert Dean's or John Dean. John Dean's wife was working for this call girl operation.
That was Marine.
Yeah.
We called her Mo the Ho.
Okay. So what do you know about that firsthand?
Well, I met her on a couple of occasions when I worked after Watergate. I had Carl moved out, and he told me to move out of the area because the press was going to be trying to find me. And to secure him and to protect him, he did not want my name connected in the newspapers and with the media, and because it would show he was quite a liar, especially about, I'll tell you how it happened. Frank Wills, the Watergate guard, who was a young black kid from Georgia, he was the Watergate guard, and Carl had made arrangements with Frank to go tape the doors from the basement all the way up to the floor where the Watergate offices was. they put in the newspapers that the tape was found on his doors the night that it happened. Well, it was the night that it happened, but it was done for hours in advance of the break-in by Frank, not by the burglars. You understand?
Right. Now, 1 second. Now, this is not the tape over the mechanism to keep the door unlocked. This was a tape on the door to show if the door had been opened or not?
Yes. It was just taped across the locks so that the burglars could get in.
Oh, okay. So now you're saying that this security guard he was the one who placed the tape over the lock.
Exactly.
Okay,
exactly.
Gotcha. Over the
exactly.
Gotcha. Go ahead.
And he was working with the burglars, but he was also working for Carl as an informant.
Okay.
And anyways, he also had made arrangements to give the pass key where the burglars could get their hands on the pass key to break into the offices where they didn't have to break for locking the door. So that's how they got in. And the break-in happened at 2:30 in the morning, and when they came over, Frank was told, when the burglars get into the building, get into the office, it says, you'll have I don't know if he used a gadget to alert him or whether he noticed the lights on the office. Somehow he was notified that they were there. And anyways, he called 911, made the report, and Carl was parked a half a block away, waiting for the phone call to go to the Watergate. But now Carl was not supposed to work that evening. That was his birthday, remember? He's supposed to be going to Pennsylvania to his wife and wife and family, rather, for his birthday. He got up at 5 o'clock that evening on Friday. And the next day was his birthday. He told his captain, you know what, I'd like to hang and volunteer and hang around with the guys if you don't mind. Have you ever heard of a cop wanting to volunteer and stay on their job free and no shower or anything? Yeah. Well, that's what he did with them. So anyways, he hung out. We got in the car, parked it over, a regular blue and white car, parked it over near a half block from the Watergate, waited for the call, and then he immediately showed up when the officers arrested the burglars. He took all the credit for it. And his name is made the papers. He's the only one who went to the Watergate hearings to testify. Senator Sam Irving, he subpoenaed me to the Watergate hearings too, but they actually came out and served me with a subpoena. But then when they sent a car for me, then when I got to the Hill, I was supposed to testify in an executive session first. But there was a man named Wayne Bishop. Wayne Bishop was the head investigator for the Watergate hearings. He met my car out front, and when I got out of the car, he put his hand on my back of my neck, and he squeezed it very hard where he hurt me. And he pinching, and he said, I whispered in my ear, and he says, I just want to let you know. He said, you son of a bitch. He says, we don't like faggots. And he said, you're going to say one word about any of this stuff. He says, and you will be dead. And so, first thing I do on it, my name.
One second.
Yes, I said, I'm homosexual. They didn't ask the question. I did it deliberately.
Let me ask you a question. You said you were subpoenaed to testify at the Watergate hearings. How did they know about you?
Through the... I had called the L.A. Advocate, which was a gay newspaper, and I gave the story to them.
Okay, so you kind of outed yourself, huh?
Yes.
Okay.
So that started the ball rolling. I did that purposely.
Okay.
And you want to hear something strange? There was a guy, and this is honest God's truth, there's a guy named Jared Stout, J-A-R-E-D, Stout, S-T-O-U-T-E. He was my reporter with the what's it called, the Evening Star or something. They changed their name over to something else. It was bought out by the Moonies. But anyways, he was my reporter for a couple of months before so he came to my home early in the morning and late at night, and he followed me up and down the streets everywhere he went to on different assignments. He put this big front page story in the paper all about Robert Merritt, and then he stopped being a reporter and he became the chief of police of Rockville City, Maryland. And even came to visit me in jail in full uniform as chief of police. And then he stays there as a chief of police for about 1 year, and then he got threatened, and so he disappeared off of his job, and I located him to Texas. And I could not find him any further, so I thought they must have just killed him. And Then my reporter, Michael Powell, who's with the New York Times, he's going to do a front page story on me in about another couple of weeks or so. And Michael Powell traced him down to New Mexico and has interviewed him and is getting ready to fly out there and talk to him personally. And he said he had a lot to tell Michael about me and a lot of confidential things. I'm going to throw in a couple of things that, and I'm sorry to do this to you, Ed, but I'm not going to give you any explanation. So please don't ask me.
Okay.
But I'm only going to say this for everybody out there listening, and that's, I was taken to the White House on 2 different occasions into a building beside the White House, which is our executive offices, at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I was taken down into a basement sublevel and went through a long hallway and into another hallway, another elevator, and then a long hallway. And I was in a sub basement somewhere underneath the White House. And I met twice with the president alone.
Which president? Nixon?
I'm sorry, yes.
Nixon.
And I'm sorry, but that's all I'm going to tell you. That conversation will never be revealed, even if it meant someone standing here with a bullet to my eyes. I will not tell what happened. But I'm leaving that open because I just want people to know out there. Anybody who's listening who's in the journalistic field, who's in a private investigator, who's done anything at all with the politics or anything to do with the Watergate, the Nixon, there's a lot of dirty shit going on in this world and right here in this country. And that people do not know about. Do you know that we have something called the Scorpion Plan? Do you know about that, Mr. Opperman?
No, I've never heard of that, no.
The Scorpion Plan, it was devised by our military intelligence and by the CIA. And these are missile silos outside of our major big cities, New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, all the other huge cities where there's millions of people living. And upon the event that the higher upper class wants to get rid of it, those people like the Clintons, or maybe, I don't think Obama is that high up, but who knows, maybe. But any time that they want to get their heads together, and they refer to themselves as the esoterics. I've heard people refer to them as the Illuminati. There's no such thing as Illuminati. That's bullshit. There's Illuminati in the Vatican somewhere. It has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. These esoteric group of people are the most richest, most powerful people in the world. And there's like 100 and so. There's also sometimes referred to the 100-plus families. This country becomes to the point, not only this country, but when the world becomes to the point of annihilation, they can push the button and they can destroy us, which is the intent of these scorpions, which are missiles aimed at our cities to kill the people in our own country. Is that hard to believe? I want to ask another question for people to think about it. You know, in this country we have over 1.5 million prisoners in our prisons and jails. 1.5 million people. That's, you know, that not even major cities in this country don't even equal that type of population.
Right.
You know, but if in case of a nuclear attack, does anybody out there think that there's going to be guards staying inside of these jails to guard prisoners? If this country's under attack, they're going to leave and they're going to go home, and the last one out is going to push the button, and those walls are going to be blown all to hell. Everybody in those prisoners are going to be killed instantly. So, if anybody thinks that they're going to throw some canned goods and some bottles of water into the cells before they leave, think again. Because there's explosives in there that's going to kill these people.
Well, let me ask, before we get too far off the course, back to Watergate for a minute. A lot of people say that Schaffler was Deep Throat. Do you think that Robert Schaffler was, Carl Schaffler was Deep Throat?
I don't want to answer that.
Okay.
But since we're in that arena again, I would like to talk about Douglas Caddy for a minute.
Okay.
And I would like to, first of all, tell people out there that I have a book that's got my name on the front of it, Robert Merritt, called Watergate Exposed. A beautiful book with a beautiful cover, that is, with the president on it and all the president's men and my name at the bottom, and, you know, even my wife's name is inside, my son's name is inside of the book. And there's, I don't know, 4 or 5 little chapters in there that I wrote about me, and it's, every single word is the truth. But the major part of my book, I'd say 75% or more of my book is been written by Douglas Caddy, who put his name on the book as the co-author. He's been on your show.
Yeah.
I understand. Douglas Caddy, I got the word from a person who was involved in the CIA who informed me, who's a friend of mine, who informed me, get rid of Douglas Caddy quick, because he is one of our people, and his job is out to destroy you and your book and the credibility of it, and he's there to get everything that he can out of you before that happens. And when that happened, I called the publisher, and I told Chris Milligan, I don't remember what his name is, I told him, I said, if you don't get my book out to publishing, to the printer right now and get it published, I said, I'm going to destroy that book. He said, but you can't do that. It cost me $80,000 or more. He said, get your book to this point. I said, I don't give a damn. I said, I want it out now. I said, at least I want people to know the truth about my stories. Now, the stories in my books that was written by Douglas Caddy are a bunch of damn lies. Don't buy the book. It costs $19.95 with Amazon.com or there are some cheaper price. Don't pay 1 penny for that book because it's trash. It's garbage. It's lies. If you want to buy the book just to read my part, then you shouldn't have to pay $15 or $19 for it. I'll tell it to you on the telephone. Just call me up. But that shit that's in there about Douglas Caddy, he wrote that stuff. It's lies. Douglas Caddy was named in the game from the very beginning because he was involved with the Watergate burglars when they came to his home at 3 o'clock in the morning and said, listen, we got caught at the Watergate, so what are we going to do? And he wasn't even a criminal lawyer. He was working for some company, I can't remember the name of it, but anyways.
Well, he was working for a publishing company at the desk right next to E. Howard Hunt.
Yes, well, E. Howard Hunt was one of his friends, and he was involved. Hunt was very involved in the Watergate thing. All these people were. So was Doug Caddy. He helped conspire and collude with the Watergate thing. He had no business being an attorney for them. He's never been allowed. He's still been arrested. That's why the Judge Sirica recognized what was going on, and so did the United States Attorney's Office, thank God. And they took Douglas Caddy off the case and put him, and locked him up in jail until he decided to tell the truth about some questions they wanted answered about his personal involvement in Watergate. I'm going to tell you something else, too. Douglas Caddy, I never talked until I was stupid enough to ask him to help me do my book. And I thought, well, we were certainly adversaries at one time. Maybe this will be a great book, me and an adversary, because I was told to get to meet Douglas Caddy, to have sex with him, and do everything I could to discredit him. But I never did meet him, so no sex ever occurred. But Douglas Caddy is a homosexual, which I can sort of accept, but he's a pedophile. He likes 10, 12-year-old boys, and no older than that. He owns his building down there in Texas, or a part owner or something of it. But anyways, he has an apartment on the first floor, which is a few feet from the swimming pool. He opens up his sliding doors to the swimming pool with his drapes pulled back and has a big, huge coffee table. And I'm quoting him. I've never been to his home. I'm quoting him, what he told me. And he has everything on that table that you can imagine, from pot to pills to greens to the blues, the whole 9 yards on the table, to entice young boys to come in so he can have sex with them. Now, that's Douglas Caddy. He should be locked up. Or, you know what?
Well, let me ask you some questions. First of all, how did you first get into contact with Doug Caddy?
Carl Schaffler told me. We lived across the street from each other.
Oh,
directly across the street from each other.
What year was that?
That was during the whole Watergate thing. I lived across the street from the late 60s up until when Carl told me to move. I think it was 72, I think, during the same year's Watergate.
So back in the 70s, Carl Schaffler this cop who was involved in everything, he assigned you to go have sex with Doug Caddy, but you never did.
With Caddy?
Yeah.
Yes, that's correct.
But you never did.
No, I did not.
Okay, then how did you get involved back again with Doug Caddy later on? Now, wait. Now, did Schaffler ever tell you why he wanted you to get involved with Caddy?
Yes, because they said that Douglas Caddy was a conspirator and conspirator. I'm a colluder and conspirator with the Watergate burglars, and they wanted to know the truth out of his mouth.
Okay. Now, what did you? But later on, how'd you get involved back with Caddy later on to write this book?
When I read in the Advocate magazine about Douglas Caddy wrote a story or something for me, or was interviewed or something, I started thinking, my wife and I want to do a book, and I thought, this would be great. If I, as the informant, and then one of my targets, like Douglas Caddy, would agree with me to help me with a book. I thought it would be a great book like that. You understand?
Yeah.
And he did agree. And he did agree at least on those terms, the same terms. I explained to him the same question that you just asked me. He asked me the same thing, and that's exactly what I told him, and that was the truth.
Now, he's openly homosexual. He's out, right?
He's what?
He's out of the closet. He's open.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Okay. Now, what do you know about Doug Caddy has some theories about the JFK assassination.
He's a liar. He's a liar and a bunch of shit. Excuse my language, but him and this E. Howard Hunt crap with this so-called deathbed confession tape that him and his son, who's nothing but a crackhead, run around. I'm talking about Hunt's son, who's running around telling people that he's got this tape and his father was involved in the JFK assassination. It's a bunch of shit. It has nothing to do with it at all. Nothing.
Okay, let's do
nothing.
This. You got to watch your language about the obscenities. Because,
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I understand. You know, we can always bleep some of it out, but try and hold that back because then we have to put down adult content. We get less listeners.
No, I'm sorry about that.
Now, how do you know all this stuff about that? It's inaccurate about his allegations about E. Howard Hunt being involved in JFK.
Caddy told me himself.
Oh, really? Caddy told you?
Caddy told me himself. You know what? When Caddy and I got to know each other on the phone, I started smelling something that wasn't exactly right, and so I started talking down on the government, started talking down on Carl Schaffler, started talking down in such a way that pleased Douglas Caddy and things that he wanted to hear about certain things. In other words, I started with him and his rather leftist political attitude. And it wasn't that way at all. But I was playing him. I was playing a role with him, and it worked. This was one of the reasons why you asked me about the assassination thing with the guy and all these other things. The government, they love me for that. Mr. Topperman, I have a doctor. Can you give me 1 second, please?
Oh, you need
please,
to
it's very, very important. It's about an appointment with surgery, please.
Okay, listen, don't worry. I'm going to play a commercial break. We got that 4 minutes again, okay? So take your time. Thank you, sir. And now a word from our sponsors. Pacific West Bamboo, your premier source for sustainable building material. They provide construction-grade and craft-grade bamboo material for all your indoor, outdoor, and gardening needs. Contact them for event planning and display building as well. 503-839-8126. Or you go to their new website, pacificwestbamboo.com. Or you can contact them on Facebook at Pacific West Bamboo. That's 503-839-8126. Amanda from Pacific West Bamboo was our first sponsor. She's been so good to us, so please support her in return. I want to make everybody aware of our new members section at www.oppermanreport.com. You can go there and sign up for a monthly, quarterly, or yearly subscription. You can even purchase episodes one by one. You get full access to brand new original content, new guests, new uncensored interviews, my own investigations and reports, and we're going to be adding sections with documents, images, police reports, either provided by myself or by my guests, or for my own investigations, my own reports. So you can go to OppermanReport.com and you can sign up there tonight. You can start listening tonight. Strawman. I want to mention Strawman. Strawman is a band out of Toronto, Canada. They're good friends of the Opperman Report. They're a trio of guys who share the same mindset most of us here do, and they put that energy into their words and music. So check them out at strawmanmusic.com and drop them a line to let them know that you heard them here on the Opperman Report. We'll be doing an interview with Sean Duffy soon. You can get an autographed copy of my book, How to Succeed as a Private Investigator, by visiting my PI website, emailrevealer.com. We also offer a computer and cell phone forensics. We can recover deleted text messages to uncover infidelity. We offer asset searches, locates, email tracing, background reports, and we can even trace your spouse's email address back to internet dating websites to catch them cheating online. You can reach us at 800-572-9762, or you can email me at emailrevealer@aol.com. New World Mexican Women. Everyone loves the New World Mexican Women, and their line of fine, handcrafted, authentic Mexican jewelry of stone mosaic and abalone stone inlay. In their first book, titled New World Mexican Women, available on lulu.com, they teach you how to make this jewelry, and they have a collection of love letters to their men from their hometown that have immigrated to the United States to find work. They have also published a new book entitled Azuquina to the Rodeo. It's about a young girl that falls in love with a rodeo bull rider, and she runs away with him without telling her family. You can find the New World Mexican Women by Googling New World Mexican Women. And you can ask them about their deals on wholesaling their fine jewelry and all of the other projects that they have going on. If you'd like to have your business or website advertised here and promoted all over the world on dozens of stations every day, give us a call at 800-572-9762 or email oppermanreport@gmail.com. And now back to our show. Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report. Okay, well, this is some blockbuster stuff. We're talking today with Robert.
Hello, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, perfect timing. No rush. Now, so I got a couple of questions for you. Doug Caddy and Guy Bannister. What do you know about that?
Doug Caddy and what?
Guy Bannister.
I couldn't hear the name that you said. I'm sorry.
Guy Bannister. Remember from the JFK assassination? Guy Bannister was an FBI.
I'm sorry. I never even heard the name before.
Okay, no problem. Now, what is it in the book specifically that you describe as being inaccurate, that being a false?
That what he said to me?
Yeah. In the book, that you said the publication there's inaccuracies and lies in the book.
Oh, you know something? I'm gonna be very, very honest with you. I have never read my own book.
Okay.
But I have had people who have read the book, who's been lawyers and people like that, and they said, "Did you notice that certain things in here that he said is not true?" And I said, "No." I said, "But it doesn't surprise me." And I've had more than one person tell me who's not even associated with each other.
But you don't have anything specific that you can point out?
No, I'm sorry, I don't.
Okay, don't worry about it. Now, what about this? Now,
if you want me to read the book and comment on it and review it, I'd be more happy to do it. But
okay, but then what is the main reason for your falling out with Caddy? Describe that.
Yes, because of what my friend said, that he was a CIA, and Douglas Caddy admitted to me that the CIA did approach him and ask him to be a manager, something. There was some hotel down in South America, and it was supposed to be an operation with the Sandinistas. But he still was talking to them. He still was. He had so much information; it was up to date.
Yeah,
now, I do have friends with these agencies, and sometimes and I shouldn't be saying this at all, but there are certain things that I am told that I'm not supposed to be told, period.
Okay. Now, who do you think? Do you have any first-hand or personal or second-hand information about the JFK assassination?
No. No. I was told. I've asked that question to many, many people from different agencies, and every last one in the intelligence agencies. And you know what I was told about that?
What?
That the newspaper accounting was 100% accurate.
So you think it was Lee Harvey Oswald?
Yes. And no other. And all this crap about Lee Harvey Oswald, going to Russia and being an informant and all these things, they said, some of those things may be true, but that has nothing to do with what he did to the president down in Texas. Nothing.
Now, you say you're friends with Jim Rothstein. Jim Rothstein says that Frank Sturgis confessed to him to being a shooter. What do you make of that?
Yes, I've heard that too. And you know what? Since Jim Rothstein said this, I don't want to make any comment. I'm sorry.
Okay. So, we got about 15 minutes left in the show.
Mm-hmm.
And this has been incredible information. I got to thank you very much for everything you told us today, because I know it's difficult for you to have the energy to do this, at your age. What do you want to leave us with in this last 15 minutes to sum up everything that you want the public to know?
Oh, there's so much, Mr. Supplement. I want people to know that maybe what was related back then is still happening today, and so much that they're doing it right in our faces as if we are the bunch of dumb SOBs that ever walked. I mean, this thing on the Hill, Democrats, Republicans, there's only really one party in this country, and they all work together. It's all a big farce. It's all a big show. Even the stuff that goes on at the White House. And the president is not really the president of this country. No president has ever been the president of this country until it goes all the way back to maybe Eisenhower or somebody. They've all been told to jump and dance at the crack of the whip and on their little strings from the CIA and these 100 families that I told you about. You'd be surprised how much that esoterical group of people, has a power play in this country as to what goes on, not only on Wall Street, but what goes on in the Department of Defense. I mean, even President Nixon made the remark, walls are stocked and they're made right on Wall Street. And that's the absolute truth. And in other words, the rich, the most powerful, this most elite. And even the president then was really referring to this same thing I told you now about this esoterical group of people that run this world, not this nation, this world. And they're not all from America, by the way.
And a lot of that is done through blackmail and extortion through homosexual blackmail that they videotape.
Oh, yes. I'm so glad you brought this up. Please give me a couple minutes to please say this.
Plenty of time.
I told you from the very beginning that I was the leader, the founder of the Gay Liberation Front GLF in Washington, D.C. when the Gay Liberation revolution started. I met my wife, Debbie, who's a Chinese young woman, and she's 30 years younger than me. I met Debbie when she's in her 20s. I was 53 years old. So, anyways, Debbie, I lived with Debbie as a roommate, and then we started having sex. She was the first. I was a virgin. I was a virgin until I met Debbie with females. And she knew about my life. And anyways, we got married. When I was in federal prison, when I got out, we got married in West Virginia. And since I had been with her, that was back in 1999, I never wanted to have anything to do with homosexuality. I despise it. I detest it. I cannot stand it. I loathe it. And I have had people to call me up on the phone and ask me, my son, my daughter, my grandson, whatever is a homosexual. What do? I give them two pieces of advice. Pray for them, and then take them out in the woods and put a bullet between their eyes. And that's exactly the only cure. And if I wish that had happened to me, I would never have been encountered by the government. My life ruined. And my wife left me today as a result of all this. It's because they threatened her. The government threatened her over and over. They even put a gun on her one night right here in this neighborhood when she was going to the store. And said, if you don't leave, don't get out, don't get away, we're going to kill you. We're going to kill him too. And she left me, and it was 5 years ago. And she's scared to even talk to me. And we were married for like 18 years. But I'm on the internet, and I loathe homosexuals, and I've given the same answer on the internet, and I'm not scared to say it, and I don't care who doesn't like it, because they can all go to hell.
Well, is your wife with you back now, or is she still estranged?
I'm sorry?
Is your wife back with you now, or
No, we're still separated.
It's still apart.
We will not divorce, but she's too scared, and you know what? I'm scared for her to be here with me as well. I'm alone. I'm sick. I'm dying, and I don't want Debbie around me under these circumstances.
Okay. Now, do you still get threats and intimidation?
If I what?
Do you still get threats and people trying to intimidate?
Yes, of course. In my home, I take the drapes off the windows, and I sit here in the living room with a chair at my desk, and you can go across the street, and you can see me sitting here on the second floor.
Okay.
They want to take a gun and drive by and kill me, they can do it. And I've been threatened with guns. I had a 12-inch knife pushed through my right lung, cut the internal memory gland, and the bottom part of the knife cut my heart wide open. This was in 1991. And this is one of the things that they have done to me. So, and phone calls, harassment, it never stops. It never stops. I've had kids on the street who have threatened to kill me, pretending like it was a robbery, and I can see that these were things that the government would do. It put some young kids on the street. Hey, go rob this person. We'll give you $1,000. You mean if you pop them off?
Oh boy. Okay.
But I am one of the most outspoken people against gay people, against homosexuals that there is today. I despise them and despise their way of life. And by the way, it's a bunch of BS to anybody who thinks that you're born this way, it's DNA, oh, my parents made it. It's nonsense. You're that way because of choice, and no other reason.
And you believe that you wound up in that lifestyle because of those priests molesting you as a young man?
What about the priest?
Yeah. Did you believe that you wound up in the homosexual lifestyle because of the priest?
I was raped repeatedly over and over until I thought it was a normal way to be. And then after a while, when something happens to you over and over like that, then you begin to like it. And that's what's so pathetic and so sickening about this whole thing. I knew of no other way. I had never been with a woman until I was 53 years old, and that was with Debbie. And the only one I'd ever been with in my life, and still is.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, we're down to about 8 minutes. How you feeling?
About
right now. How do you feel right now? Has this been a tough night on you? All this talking?
I'm sorry.
I says, how do you feel right now? Has this been a rough night? All this bringing up all this stuff and talking about this?
No, not really. I've been interrogated extensively. I mean, by the media, by congressional senatorial committees. I was even testified before the Watergate Senate Select Committee. In fact, if you recall, I don't know how old you are, but if you recall the Saturday Night Massacre in Archibald Cox's office, I was with Archibald Cox the night, and that I testified was on a Friday night, and gave him over 10 cases of file folders that I had, because I kept files on the government too. And well, it was after midnight that night is when the FBI raided his office, and they called it the famous Saturday Night Massacre. But anyways, I was the last one to be before him. But it wasn't ever just because of me. They stole thousands and thousands of files out of that office from many different people. So, if I can squeeze in here one more thing too, and that's when I was working for the FBI after Carl Schaffler, we used to meet at the Elephant Room inside the Smithsonian Museum, and that elephant, always the Elephant Room. I asked him, I said, "Does that elephant represent anything to y'all?" I said, "That why you have me meeting me here?" Referring to the Republicans, of course. But anyways, I had people to secretly photograph me with them. I secretly tape recorded them. I kept notes. I kept records. I kept a diary. When my mother died about a month or so before Watergate, I went to her home for I didn't get there in time for the funeral, but I got there in time for the burial. And I opened up the lid enough just to put the diary and the photograph stuff inside the casket. And that's where they are to this day. And that evidence is still there in a waterproof package.
In your mother's coffin?
Yes.
And what
Anybody who has
evidence?
the money, I'll be more than glad to sign any permission consent to open up the grave, and they can get themselves. Everything I've told you is the honest God's truth. Every word I've said.
That's interesting. Okay. And what now? They talk about that a lot of hush money was sent around, and people were paid off. The Watergate burglars and stuff were paid off.
Yes.
Were you ever offered any money?
Only from the very beginning, $1,000 some. I was given like bonuses. I guess you could call it maybe. Well, no, it wasn't hush money. It was bonus, more or less, for like breaking in things for policy studies, for planting the drugs on the hippies. By the way, that money. I turned it down. I didn't even see the money in that case, because I did not know that they had overdosed those people to the point where they were going to die. They told me they would only go crazy and they would trip out and on LSD. And they didn't tell me that there was Carl's the one who told me that they laced the stuff with over 100 pieces of that taffy, where people would actually die from it.
Really? Okay. Now, have you ever had any first-hand contact with any of the burglars, like G. Gordon Liddy or any of those guys?
No.
No.
G. Gordon Liddy contacted me one time and talked to my wife about being on his radio show, but I never talked to him after, no. And I did not talk to him during that time either.
Have you done any other radio shows?
I'm sorry?
Have you done any other radio interviews?
I'm sorry. I'm hearing you.
Okay. Have you done any other radio interviews besides
Have I
this
done
one?
any?
Yeah, besides today.
Over 500 and some shows.
You have? Okay, good, okay.
500 and some shows, internet, radio, magazines, newspapers, all over the world.
Really? Because, if you go on YouTube, you can't find any of those shows.
I'm not on YouTube.
Right, okay.
If you don't mind, can I do this, please? Anybody who's listening to me who wants to talk to me about any subject, can I please? My name is Robert Merritt, M-E-R-R-I-T-T. My phone number is 646-670-9518. That's 646-670-9518. And if there's any government agents out there who want to know my address to have me killed, it's 2499 Grand, G-R-A-N-D as in David Avenue, apartment 2E like Eddie, Bronx, New York, 10468.
I'm from the Bronx, too. I was born in the Bronx.
You were?
Oh, yeah. Soundview Avenue, between St. Lawrence and Soundview Avenue, right by the number 6 train line over there on Crows Avenue in the Schuyler House.
Okay, I know where it is.
Where it is, yeah.
I'm in the University Hill area.
Okay, very good, very good. Listen, Mr. Merritt, we're out of time, okay?
I appreciate this very much, Ed, and God bless you for helping to get this truth out. And I wish that, we had more time, more shows, because there's so much more I can give. But I am a little tired due to my health, not because of your show. And there's so much more that I can tell and go into. But to try to sum up, years in just a couple of minutes is kind of hard to do.
Here's what you do. Think about it over the week. If you think of something else that you want to tell me, give me a call, and we'll schedule something for next Saturday or next Sunday, okay?
All right, great. But can you please call me back and give me your number, because I don't have it.
Okay, you don't have it on caller ID?
No, I don't. It comes up with your name, and that's all.
I'll call you back in about 5 minutes, okay?
Sure, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, and God bless you. Bye-bye.
God bless you. Okay, well, there you have it. Robert Merritt. He has some rather serious accusations to make about the people out there. If anybody feels that they would like to come on the show and give a statement contrary to what the allegations made by Mr. Merritt, you're welcome to come on and we can talk about it. As you know, Chris Milligan is a good friend of the show, and so is St. John Hunt. Doug Caddy, I enjoyed my interview with him. A lot of information came out of that interview and that show as well. He's only done a couple interviews, and pretty much exclusive information we've gotten from Doug Caddy. So these are all great shows. Mr. Merritt has made some allegations. If these people want to come on and give their side, they're more than welcome to come on, and they'll give them equal time, even more than equal time. So we can all just hash all this out, and these very serious allegations. Can't thank you enough, guys, for listening. Remember the OppermanReport.com members section. We need your membership. You can give us donations at operamanreport@gmail.com to keep this show going, to keep the show on the air, and keep guests like this coming on. Can't thank you enough. We'll talk to you next week. Good night.